Do you feel scared of something? Do you feel that your fear is blocking you? We all have fear. Some of us have fear to completely irrational things, but in general, our fear is a blocker. So, whatever we want in life, from a partner to an amazing job to career success to anything, we need to understand and acknowledge where the fears are. Sometimes we'll be lucky enough to be able to work around those fears, but quite often, those fears, once we actually face them, we can move ahead in our life in a dramatic way. It is so important that we acknowledge and then try to face those fears, because we don't want things that block us. We want to achieve as much as we can possibly achieve in this life. So I just want you to write down your fears. And there is a thing called desensitization, it's a counseling technique. So by that, you can actually expose yourself to that fear over time and you can improve. I did this with my son. I had a fear of huntsman spiders. And so he ended up having one as a pet, and it would be in this fish tank type thing. And I would go into his room at night, and the huntsman would be running around and round and around. That's what it liked to do in the dark. And that helped. So that desensitization really helped me at that time. Sometimes it doesn't last, but it's not a bad start, because I remember our friend came over once and we had this massive huntsman on the roof. And I was just drinking a cup of tea and I looked and thought, I hope it doesn't drop in my tea. And this guest of ours was just running for the hills. He was petrified and I was just hoping it didn't drop in my tea. Um, so I think one thing we can do, as I've just said, is desensitization, is to expose ourselves to that fear, that thing we're fearing. I think another thing we can do, and I totally would recommend, and I've had done heaps, is trauma release. So most of my trauma release has been either with brain spotting or somatic therapy or some EMDR. But I've worked with colleagues and I've said, this is my fear, and I've worked through that with a trauma release. So that is possible. So if you've got a really big fear, but some fears are just hard, like, look, as weird as it is, I sometimes, quite often, find it hard to ring people, especially people of importance. And I find it particularly hard to cold canvas. But the weird thing is, when I actually pick up the phone and I call these people, these companies that I should call for marketing, I speak to them, I feel on a high. So blast through your fears. Another thing you can do, and I want you to really think about the body and what's happening when you've got fear. So when you've got fear, you've got adrenaline coming out, and that could make you feel sick in the stomach. It could make you feel heavy in the chest. It's really important to just acknowledge that the body is going in a state of fear. And then I have said this in another video, but it's really important for us to know that when we've got that increase in adrenaline, what's fantastic is we're sharper normally, mentally, unless we're having a panic attack. So if we've gone to panic attack or super anxiety, it's too far. But if we've just got that little bit of nervousness, it's actually not bad at all. Sometimes it can be extreme, but as long as we acknowledge, it's not the end of the world. I do remember I was on a TV show being interviewed for Honeymooners Forever, that book over there, 12-Step Marriage Survival Guide, and I was on Kerry Ann Kennelly. I was on her show, Mornings with Kerry Ann, many years ago, and I literally felt like my heart was going boom, 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 boom. And I remembered, okay, no one can see my heart. So I just sat there and I used that lovely, kind sentence, that self-affirming statement, no one can see my heart. No one can see what I'm going through, and tried to push back in the chair and just focused. One of the most amazing things you can do when you're having fear is know that the conscious mind, very different to the subconscious, but the conscious mind can only think of one thing at a time. So it's super important when you've got this fear to just go, bang, I need to focus. So that's what I did. I went, no one can see my heart. And I focused on the conversation. It was live recording, there's no stopping on TV, so I just focused entirely. And I learnt from that because when I did one of the other TV shows, which was the David and Kim show years ago, just after Kerry Ann, I put myself on the chair. I don't know if you can see my arms, but I just sat on the couch and I just made sure I looked so confident. And because my body was propped in this confident way, it made me more confident. It was like a magic power that I had. And if you look at that video clip on YouTube right now, you will see that I am so confident. So that's a David and Kim morning show with myself, Phoebe Hutchison. And that's just a trick. So propping your body is a trick. Kind sentences, no one can see my heart. I kept my arms straight down on the couch. I didn't want anyone seeing my shaky hands, so they were just propped straight down. There's so many things you can do, but I do think you've got to get through your fears, because if you want your life to be amazing and you want to attain your goals, you have to find a way. So if you can't use desensitization, which is what I just mentioned, and you can't, expose yourself to that fear and gradually improve, because if you do expose yourself to that fear and try and do it, after some time, there will be a neural pathway change. And so what happens is our brain is just filled up with all these railway tracks. And the more we do something, the thicker that neural pathway is. So how fantastic is that? So if you overcome your fear over and over and over and over and over, it's just like me with the huntsman, you're going to find that you're going to improve because of a brain structure, which takes 30 days for neural path. No, I'm lying. 30 days to change your habits, 60 days for neural pathway changes. So keep it up. Keep facing your fears in relation to your goals, and become a better you and have the life that you only dreamed about. How cool is that? Lovely talking to you. Thank you so much. Bye.